The problem with modern performance cars is the manual gearbox is dying out, they're all turbocharged, and they have no real character. If that sounds about right to you, you need a Mustang.
Looking for more car review videos just like this one? Make sure you subscribe to the CarGurus YouTube channel and tap the bell icon to turn on notifications.
The Mustang really is one of the last of its breed. It's a brawny, old school muscle car with a 5-litre V8 that's normally aspirated. It's got a manual gearbox and it's dripping with personality. This isn't a car, it's a tonic.
But this isn't just any Mustang, it's the Mustang Bullitt, built to celebrate the 50th anniversary of the Steve McQueen film of the same name. In that film, McQueen's Frank Bullitt drove a Ford Mustang GT Fastback through the streets of San Francisco in one of the most famous movie car chases of all time.
For a long time, Mustangs traded on their incredible value for money. When the pre-facelift version arrived in 2016, the V8 cost around £35,000. That's so cheap. Inevitably, that number has swollen over the years, and now the cheapest V8 is about £43,000. Meanwhile, this Bullitt version, well, that costs £48,000.
But you do get more for your money with the Bullitt. It isn't just a badge and wheel job, although you will find lots of Bullitt badges and unique 19-inch wheels. Part of the upgrade from the standard Mustang GT to Mustang Bullitt is what's called the GT Performance Package. It includes 6-piston Brembo brakes, stiffer springs with a lower ride height, retuned dampers, Meteor anti-roll bars and a Torsen limited slip differential.
You get more power as well, although not stacks more power. The engine is still a big 5-litre V8, although it now has an active sports exhaust and the induction system from the Shelby GT350 model.
The only gearbox option is a 6-speed manual. It comes with an auto blip function for perfectly smooth downshifts, although you can disable it if you prefer.
The cabin for a 2-seat coupe is actually pretty spacious, and there are lots of retro design touches in here, such as this double cowl design, which is borrowed from the original Mustang. There are plenty of Bullitt badges littered around the place to remind you that you bought the most expensive version. And also, have a look at this, a cue ball gear knob, just like Steve McQueen's.
The front seats are big, comfy, but also supportive Recaros. Whereas lots of 4-seat coupes actually don't have usable rear seats, the Mustang's rear bench is plenty big enough for children. The boot is very sizable as well.
Cabin quality has always been a bit of an issue with these Mustangs. This particular model is no exception. There's still lots of cheap feeling plastics all over the place. It has been improved since last year's facelift. For instance, the instrument cluster is now one big digital screen that looks great. And there are plenty of toys in here as well. You've got smartphone mirroring, you've got sat-nav, DAB radio, and as standard, the Bullitt version gets a 1,000-watt B&O hi-fi. This Mustang is such a distinctive thing to drive, even just at low and moderate speeds. It feels so different to anything else that I would normally find myself driving. I suppose that's because it's a great big muscle car. There's a sense of size about this thing. It really is a big chunky car. It's not difficult to drive through town because of it, but it does want your attention just because it's so wide and so long. The ride is good. This car's got the optional Magna Ride damper, £1,600 option, and it just means that the low speed ride is settled and calm and fluid. What I really love about this car is that you enjoy the engine, this sense that there's a huge malevolent beast underneath the bonnet waiting to go. Even when you're just driving slowly, you tickle the throttle and you hear it come to life. It's fantastic. Gear shift is great. Yeah, it's a cool, fun car just to drive slowly, and that isn't true of very many modern performance cars.
Since 2016, the Mustang has used independent rear suspension rather than a live rear axle.
That means it's better able to deal with a lumpy, bumpy UK road, but it still has that distinct feel of a muscle car. It's not the kind of European sports car that you take by the scruff of the neck and fling down the road as hard as you dare. Instead, you kind of stroke it along, 7, 8 tenths, something like that. Having said that, when you do stick it into Sport Plus mode, it actually feels so much more alert and so much sharper than almost any other muscle car that I've driven before. That's in part thanks to the revised chassis settings for this Bullitt version, but it's also because the steering for a muscle car is surprisingly good. It's perhaps a little bit springy, a little bit rubbery, but there's just no slack in it whatsoever, and you can really position the car with such confidence. That isn't true of many muscle cars.
Crucially, the Mustang Bullitt is fun to drive. The steering is accurate, the brakes are strong, and with optional Magna Ride suspension, the car deals with a bumpy road really well.
I love the drive modes in this car. They really remind you that you're in something a little bit different. You've got a slippery mode for when it's wet outside, normal mode, you've got Sport Plus, Racetrack, and then you've got Drag Strip mode. How cool is Drag Strip mode? Having said all of that, there's a lot to enjoy about this car, but there's one thing to enjoy more than anything else, and that's obviously the engine. 5-litre V8, normally aspirated, and it's so strong. This car feels really quick. You've got really long gear ratios, so it's only when you get through 4,000 RPM or so that the car really starts hauling, but then it flies down the road, and it's such a wonderful V8 rumble that the engine makes. I just love listening to it. When you stretch the engine all the way out beyond 7,000 RPM, the red line's at 7,400. When you get it all the way up to the top there, it really comes alive and the whole car just fizzes and vibrates with energy. It's so cool. Gear shift, it's a hefty, chunky gear shift, but it's really good. It's such a direct and well-defined throw. This car also has an auto blip function. You can switch it off. I happen to like it. It works really well. I leave it on. There's so much to enjoy about this car, there really is.
The Mustang Bullitt isn't the bargain performance car earlier Mustangs were, but you can't argue with its sense of occasion or the brilliance of that engine.
And if you've had it with modern European performance cars and their paddle shift gearboxes and turbo engines and all the rest of it, this is what the solution looks like. Thank you very much for watching. Please comment below and let us know what you think of the Mustang Bullitt, and subscribe to the CarGurus YouTube channel if you haven't already. And remember as well to head to cargurus.co.uk, because that's where you'll find a great deal on your next used car from a top-rated dealer.